Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel World Conflict Monitor. Please subscribe and like my videos, because today we are going to dive into one of the most intense developments in the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war, an episode that once again reshapes the way we see modern conflict. Hundreds of Russian missiles and drones have recently struck across Ukraine, marking one of the largest combined aerial assaults since the beginning of the invasion. In this review-style explanation, we are going to look at the exterior of these attacks, the interior human impact, the performance of both Russian strikes and Ukrainian defenses, the safety features that civilians rely on in times of war, the unique selling points of these operations from a strategic perspective, the price that both sides are paying, and finally a conclusion that ties together the broader meaning of this moment. From the exterior, the war looks brutal, loud, and highly visible. Images and videos show the night sky lit up by barrages of missiles and swarms of drones, creating a terrifying spectacle that is both a show of force and an attempt at psychological domination. The exterior is not just about the hardware, it's about how these attacks are perceived globally. To outside observers, the sheer scale of hundreds of simultaneous launches paints a picture of escalation. Russia wants the world to see the massive firepower it can still unleash, despite sanctions, logistical strains, and battlefield losses. The exterior is also about the political theater. Moscow is signaling to domestic audiences that it is not weakened, that it retains control of its arsenal, and that it can strike deep into Ukrainian territory whenever it chooses. For Ukraine, the exterior tells another story. Despite the pounding, cities continue to function, emergency crews respond, and air defenses intercept many of the incoming threats. The look from the outside is a clash of spectacle versus resilience, a war of images as much as destruction. But when we move to the interior, the story changes entirely. Behind the dramatic footage and fiery explosions are millions of ordinary Ukrainians living through sleepless nights, rushing to bomb shelters, or clinging to hope while air raid sirens wail across the country. The interior is where the human cost becomes undeniable. Apartment buildings are left without power, hospitals struggle under emergency loads, and families face winter without reliable heating because energy infrastructure is targeted. The interior also reflects the psychological strain. Children grow up with constant alarms, parents face the fear of separation, and communities come together to survive under pressure that most of the world cannot imagine. Beyond Ukraine, the interior reaches into Russia too. Many Russian families are silently watching their loved ones sent to the front lines or are feeling the impact of sanctions that erode daily life. The interior, unlike the exterior spectacle, is not meant for show. It is lived experience, the quiet endurance of war. Inside every destroyed home is a story of disruption. Inside every bunker is a moment of fragile solidarity. The deeper we examine the interior, the more we understand that beneath the rockets and drones lies a struggle for survival, identity, and the right to exist as a sovereign nation. This internal dimension is what makes the war more than just geopolitics. It is about lives reshaped and scarred in real time. Performance is another angle. On Russia's side, launching hundreds of missiles and drones in a single coordinated wave shows logistical capacity and intent to overwhelm. The performance here is measured in numbers, speed, and coordination. However, performance cannot be judged only on what is launched. It must also be judged on what hits its target. Ukraine's air defenses, boosted by Western systems like the Patriot and NASAMS, have managed to intercept a large portion of incoming threats. Their performance demonstrates adaptation, skill, and resilience under pressure. Ukrainian forces have grown more efficient at predicting flight paths, sharing intelligence across cities, and using a combination of modern and Soviet-era systems to blunt the impact of overwhelming attacks. Yet performance is also about endurance. Russia is trying to wear Ukraine down, testing whether its defenses can hold up over weeks and months of pressure. Ukraine is performing under impossible conditions, but each attack chips away at resources, fuel, and stamina. On both sides, performance becomes a question of sustainability. Who can keep this pace? Who can continue producing missiles, drones, and defense systems, and who eventually faces exhaustion? Safety features in this conflict are tragically unlike those in any other review we might make. For civilians, the main safety features are bomb shelters, early warning systems, and air defense coverage. Cities like Kyiv have invested heavily in underground stations, doubling as shelters, and apps send push notifications the moment missiles are detected. On a larger scale, safety features include alliances and aid. NATO support, Western weapons, and humanitarian aid are protective buffers that help Ukraine survive. For Russia, safety features lie in its strategic depth, vast territory, and nuclear deterrent, which it uses to discourage outside escalation. But unlike in a car or a plane, safety here is never guaranteed. Every time the sirens sound, safety depends on a mix of luck, preparation, and the skill of defenders. Safety is also psychological, the ability to reassure populations that life can go on, schools can reopen, and infrastructure can be rebuilt. The more robust the safety features, the less effective Russia's intimidation becomes. Yet every missile that slips through highlights the limits of any safety system in a war of attrition. Unique selling points might sound strange in the context of war, but every military campaign tries to highlight what makes it distinct. For Russia, the unique selling point of these mass drone and missile strikes is saturation. By launching so many at once, Moscow hopes to bypass Ukraine's layered defenses and create shock. Drones, in particular, offer a low-cost, reusable edge, small, fast, and harder to track compared to traditional missiles. Russia's campaign relies on sheer volume, a storm meant to overwhelm rather than precision strikes alone. Ukraine's unique selling point lies in resilience. Despite facing a larger adversary, Ukraine demonstrates adaptability, skillful use of foreign supplied technology, and the morale of a population refusing to be cowed. Every time Ukraine withstands a barrage, intercepts dozens of missiles, and restores power within hours, it shows the world its unique strength, survival against the odds. This contrast between Russia's offensive saturation and Ukraine's defensive resilience is the defining clash of unique approaches in modern warfare. Price is perhaps the most devastating category in this review. The financial cost is staggering. Each missile can cost millions of dollars, each drone thousands, and every interception also consumes expensive defense missiles. But beyond economics, the price is measured in lives lost, homes destroyed, and futures stolen. For Russia, the price includes international isolation, sanctions crippling industries, and the growing resentment of a population seeing resources drained into a war with no clear end. For Ukraine, the price is infrastructure in ruins, generations traumatized, and a dependency on foreign aid to keep the state functioning. The global community pays a price too: energy markets destabilized, food supply chains disrupted, and an ever-present risk of escalation drawing in more nations. The price is not a simple calculation. It is a cascading chain of costs, visible and hidden, immediate and long-term. And as the war stretches on, the cumulative price becomes heavier for everyone involved, making the urgency of resolution ever greater. In conclusion, reviewing this moment of the Russia-Ukraine war through the lens of exterior, interior, performance, safety features, unique selling points, and price gives us a more layered understanding. The exterior is a show of firepower, but the interior reveals human endurance. The performance of militaries is tested daily, while safety features are constantly strained. Unique selling points highlight the contrast between offensive scale and defensive resilience, while the price underscores the unsustainable burden of prolonged conflict. What we are witnessing is not just a battle of weapons, but a struggle of wills, values, and survival. As missiles rain down and drones swarm, Ukraine's defense and Russia's persistence paint a grim picture of modern war, a war where every strike carries both visible destruction and invisible trauma. The world watches, not just as spectators, but as stakeholders in the stability of an international system being tested. This review is not of a machine or a product, but of a conflict that continues to shape history, reminding us that the true measure is not in numbers launched or intercepted, but in the lives forever changed.